Hey guys, so wanted to take a second to talk about the step or load or whatever you want to call it, and just talk about what you're actually trying to accomplish when you do your step or load or whatever. So this is Bo Bichette. I just did a video breakdown of him a little bit ago, but we're gonna look at some other hitters as well. But if we were to just take away the bat and like not even worry about the fact that he's swinging right now, and just we were to talk about, okay, what movement is he doing, and we wanted to try to boil it down into the simplest terms possible. I would say, and I think most people that looked at this for a really long time, I would say what Bo Bichette is doing is he's rotating his spine. So how do we know that? So if I drew a circle around his head, when he turns, his head stays really still. He turns his hips. He turns his shoulders, which are all connected to his spine. So, in conclusion, Bo Bichette is turning his spine. And if we look at most other good big league hitters, Bryce Harper. So if I line him up next to Bo, and look at that. Okay, so in a similar position, Harper lands, okay, circle around his head again, head stays pretty still, his hips and shoulders rotate a lot. In conclusion, both Harper and Bichette are rotating their spine. I do this stuff a lot. You do that with any good hitter. You basically see the same thing. So how does our step prepare us to rotate our spine? So a lot of people and a lot of coaches, when kids are younger, what they tell kids is they tell kids to stay back. And what ends up happening is someone like just a little leaguer, anybody. Let's imagine that Bo Bichette right now is a little leaguer. Obviously he's not. He's a phenomenal professional hitter. What happens is when little leaguers are told to stay back, they get in a similar position to what Bichette is right here, and what they do is they leave their back hip right here where it is, and what they'll do is they'll reach their front foot way out like this and put it on the ground, because the other cue that coaches will use is they'll say stay back, and then they'll say get your foot down early. And if you think about the weight distribution of this little angle thing that I drew here, you could probably say that the majority of weight is really back on this back leg right here. But when we look at what Bichette actually does in his step, he starts back for sure, but then he ends up getting right here, and you'd probably say that, yeah, his weight is a little bit more distributed a little bit further back, but it's certainly between his feet. So really what the step is trying to do, and I'm going to oversimplify a little bit, so just so it's really easy and communicable, what we're trying to do with this step is trying to get angles on both of our legs like this, so we have 50-50 weight distribution on each leg. So we want 50 on our back, 50 on our front. Now, this can be, like 60-40 to either way. It honestly is not that big a deal, but what we do need is we need a solid amount of weight on each foot, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to rotate our pelvis. So if, let's imagine that you have like a globe, like the globe that you'll see like in geography class or whatever, and let's imagine that this globe is right here. Okay, so it's blue, it's got the earth right here, okay? And you know how there's like an axis on every globe, right? Let's say that this globe has an axis from Bo Bichette's head through his belly button through the center of the globe, okay? Obviously that's not the perfect center of the globe, but if you have only 1 foot on the globe, let's say that you had like 80%, I'm gonna change colors so it communicates a little bit better. Let's say you have 80% back on this back foot. I didn't change colors at all, did I? So 80% on this back foot and 20% on this front foot. In order to spin the globe, you would need to then slide your hips forward more to be able to get back to this 50-50 mark in order to rotate the globe. So what a lot of hitters do is when they're really weight distributed back, what ends up happening to them is they're unable to rotate their pelvis because their weight is so far back on their back leg. We have to move to 50-50 in order to rotate our pelvis or rotate like this globe that's down below us here. And that's essentially what the swing in is kind of like rotating the globe or rotating your pelvis, whatever you want to call it. It really doesn't matter. But in order to get a good pelvis rotation, you've got to be somewhere close to this 50-50 mark. And you'll see that with every single good major league hitter, they'll all get to a position where their feet become 50-50 or close to 50-50. And that's what we see with Harper right here as well. So here's the globe. I meant to go blue on that one. So here's the globe. Boom. From Harper's head down through the center. Oops, I meant that to be straight. From Harper's head down through the center of the globe, and you'll see that he maintains that axis pretty closely as he rotates around it, and you'll see that Bichette does the same thing. So in order to spin that globe, you've got to get to 50-50. So what we're trying to do with our step is we're trying to time up when we get 50-50. So we're trying to make sure that we get to that 50-50 point right when the ball is like near the plate. So that way we don't have to stop. So most good hitters, they just keep going. There's no pause in their swing if they can help it. Now, if Harper landed early and he's adjusted really well on a couple of his home run swings this year. So definitely go back and look at some video of Harper because he's done an awesome job of adjusting. But what would happen if Harper was fooled and he landed early is he would get in this position, he'd pause for a second, and then he'd rotate his pelvis. But in order to adjust properly, you've got to be in a spot where you're close to that 50-50 mark on each foot so you can actually rotate. If you're trying to wait on a pitch that you're fooled on with your pelvis more, I'm going to clear Harper's side. If you're trying to wait on a pitch that you're fooled on with your back hip more back here, and I'm going to imagine that, so like where this blue stops right here is his back hip, okay? Here's his hips, and then here's his front leg way out like this. We can imagine that he's probably like 80, I'm just going to use the 80-20 again. He's 80-20, 80 on the back, 20 on the front. And if you're trying to get your foot down early and have your hip really, really far back like this, you still have to slide your hips to, I'm going to change colors again. I'm going to go to red. Okay, you still have to slide your hips to the position that he's in currently before he can even begin to swing. So what you should be doing is trying to get your hips in the red position over here during your step and time that up so you land in the right position so you can swing immediately, or if you have to wait, you can wait from that position and then you can trigger your swing immediately. So what is the step trying to do? The step is trying to time when you get 50-50 weight distribution between both feet. And if your step is doing anything other than that, then it's doing you a disservice. Now you're going to see stuff all over the internet talking about one-legged swings. And I don't want to be like, I don't get it, but it's a thing that doesn't allow for optimal hip rotation. Now, are there some people that swing their foot down? Sure. Kinda. But these people are really, really, really big. And when you have someone that's really big, what ends up happening is that person hits a lot of home runs or has like a really high batting average or something. And everyone says, I'm going to swing just like this person. Everybody says that. This person might be 270 pounds. I'm just making up a number. So this person might be 270 pounds. And the kid that's trying to mimic that person's swing is 130 pounds. And what ends up happening is that kid can't hit the ball very far because he's mimicking the swing of someone who's really, really big. So if you're looking for people who swing to mimic, try to look for people that aren't much bigger than, 6'1", 210 pounds. And that's about the size that you want to be looking at for swings to model. Now, is Harper bigger than that? Yeah, absolutely. But Harper has a really aggressive pattern, and in high school he could hit the ball 500 feet. Granted, that was with a bat that basically acts like a bazooka, but he has a really efficient movement pattern, and so does Bichette. And all of these guys, they spin the globe below them, and you'll notice that they turn their hips in a very, very tight window. So if I drew a line right here, another line right here, you'll see that Bichette keeps his hips inside that. And if I did the same thing on Harper over here, you'll see that Harper turns his hips pretty close to inside that as well. So when you're able to turn your hips in a really tight window, or like in a phone booth, I know that's like a 1990s reference that not everyone will get now if you're a kid watching this, but if you're able to turn your hips in a phone booth like that, you're able to be very, very efficient with the rotation of your body and exert a lot of force for your size. So that's what you should be aiming for, and you've really got to make sure that that step is preparing you to land 50-50. And if it's not, then you're probably in trouble. Hope you guys enjoyed. Feel free to shoot me an email, kurt@ignitebaseball.org. Hey guys, if you like this video and it helped you out, please share it with your friends. Please subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day.